Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the MSP Cyber Roundtable. I'm Matt Fish from Fort Mesa. I have with me today Martin White from Tech ID Manager. Thank you, Martin, for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
I can't remember the last time. I probably should have done the research here. It is a Friday Halloween.
Yeah.
It seems like it. If I was a little bit younger, I'd be really excited about it, but I get excited for my kids now. But you have any Halloween plans? Is that a thing?
Me and a bunch of friends are going to a place called Southern Weaving this evening for dinner and drinks. Maybe we'll dress up, maybe we won't. I don't know. But it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have a bunch of teenagers that are in that that period where I need to be on call. So that's my job for the night, to be near the keys, I guess.
Yeah. I have two kids, and when they were teenagers, they're well past teenage years now. We have this policy that you can always call and I will come pick you up, no questions asked, as long as you're safe.
Yeah. How did that work?
One of them called once, and they told me why they called, but they definitely need to be picked up.
Yeah. I probably have to have that conversation, actually.
And I was talking to my daughter's 25 now, or 24, 25, almost 25. I was talking to her last week, and she said that there was one time where she should have called, but she didn't. And her friend took 30 minutes to drive the mile back to their house because they were so drunk.
Yeah, that's not a good look, right? That's exactly the situation that should not happen.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for making me excited about what's going to be happening tonight.
Here to help.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, we're going to be talking about. I know it's another AI fireside chat. We're going to be doing that thing in a few minutes. Before we do that, Martin, since it's your first time on the show, I just want to introduce you to the audience a little bit. I don't know. I think some people seeing this video have probably seen Tech ID Manager out there in the market. Some of them maybe are even using it. Some of them don't know anything about it, but I want to talk about the creative force for a moment. So, snap question here. What are you going to order when you get to the restaurant? What's your food pick here?
So the place is like a bunch of small restaurants all in one venue with a big outdoor amphitheater. They have hamburgers, pizzas, chicken wings. I am a big hamburger aficionado.
So that's where you start. Yep. And then that's depends. It depends how long you're there.
Oh, we are always there for a long time. We'll get there about 6. We'll leave late.
Okay.
Well, late for old people. 10 or 11.
All right. So cheese on the burger?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Cheese. All the things. Yeah.
All the things. No raw onions and no jalapenos, but pretty much I like burgers. A lot of us fried eggs, onion rings, all the stuff. Slaw.
I haven't done fried eggs, but I can see that. I can see that.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, all right. So guy who enjoys a hamburger ends up in cyber, and how did he get there? So the prompt here is before there was Tech ID Manager, there was Martin White, and you weren't, I presume, always in cyber, because cyber as an industry didn't always exist. It was a thing you did, not a thing you were.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's a place where we have a dedicated labor market, but it was definitely not that way 20 years ago. So, what was first job led to second job? What was the meandering road?
So I got a degree from Clemson University in computer engineering. So I've always been doing software development, hardware development, stuff like that. And my first job, actually as an intern in college and then right after college, was in industrial automation. I helped build the lines and write the software that made the stuff. High-speed automation, small parts assembly, where a robot makes a part in 1.2 seconds or 1.25 seconds, just chunking parts out. So I did that for many years, which I loved. And then that job got too much travel. I ended up traveling 85 to 90% of a year when I had small kids. And I was like, that's too much travel. I don't want that. So
wait, you were working for the organization that had the lines, or you were working for the organization that ran the robots?
I was working for an organization that made the robotic
They made,
lines that
yeah.
somebody else ran.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were in the early commissioning stages of a robotic line to build a line with 30 to 100 robots that would make some small part that went in something else, that somebody actually bought. We built the lines, installed them, and then went to another place that needed some other line to build something else. Phenomenal fun, so much enjoyment, so many challenges. So it's a very high stress job.
So I'm very curious about that because a lot's changed since then, I think, but
Mhm.
I imagine those lines used to take a really long time to commission. I mean, you had to program every movement, right? And I
Mhm.
think that that's no longer the case. But so you do that, you do some pre-work, and then you do it more when you get there, right? I presume. Like, what does that even look like?
So it looks like you get a drawing, a mechanical drawing set in CAD, and you open it up, you look through all of it, and you figure out the timing chart the mechanical
Wait.
engineer
So
designed.
this was on paper?
Yeah. Well, no,
Okay.
this was. I did get some paper drawings, but it was usually on CAD and a computer.
Okay.
Yeah, but you'd like figure out from the timing chart what the robotic motion needed to be, and then you would actually write it. We wrote it in flowcharts, and then at one point I wrote a tool that converted the flowchart to PLC programming logic that then ran on the PLC. So there was
And
like a
then
couple layers of abstraction.
I guess if you did everything right, you'd just be calibrating when you got on site. But I'm sure things were rarely that perfect, I imagine.
Never that perfect. Like there were problems in the mechanical design, there were problems in the electrical design, there were problems in the software design. Sometimes you'd get a machine that would look like it would work, and then the parts simply couldn't be picked up. You have a robot gripper that wouldn't hold the part. You go to pick it up, and the part would stay there. I
Yeah.
worked on one machine that was an inverted pyramid-looking robot made out of carbon fiber to move food. Like, it would pick up the cookies and put them in the packs after it came out of a long conveyor from an oven. This robot could go up an inch, over 12 inches, down an inch, up an inch, over 12 inches, and down an inch 4 times in a second with thousandth inch accuracy. It could actually move so fast, you could pick up the center of a cookie and not pick up the outside shell.
Huh.
So like there were lots of issues with all kinds of things. Mechanical problems, parts would slide, they wouldn't stay, lubrication would get in places it shouldn't get.
Yeah, jelly fillings not staying where they're put. I get it.
Yeah. And then I'd work on everything from food products to injectors, high pressure fuel injectors, aluminum blocks, machining things, all over the place. But so far.
Well, that, I'm sure that was really exciting at that time because it was all brand new. As you said, it became a grind. So that would be like weeks and weeks and weeks, just like commissioning, right?
Oh
One
yeah.
install.
Months.
Yeah.
You'd be 3 to
Yeah.
6 months. You'd be 6 months at a place. I moved to
that's
Germany for a
tough.
while. I did one in Switzerland, like some in Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
All right.
huge grind.
So you decided you didn't like to travel, then what?
Yep. Like 89% travel. And I was like, this is it. I'm literally dying from overworking. So I quit. And then I I had a friend who was a friend of a friend, and like they had gotten a job at an MSP. I had never heard of an MSP. I was like,
Wait, what year was this? Were they called MSPs?
2009.
So it could have been called an MSP. That was right around the transition, right?
Right around the transition, yeah. So I went to work for them doing software development because they were really two-pronged. They had MSP work and software development work. I went and did software development work and supported the MSP with custom software integration, server management, stuff like that.
Which, just to be clear, like RMMs were like basically not a thing in 2009.
Lab tech was being used there.
Yeah, I mean there was some tools out there, but they were nothing like what we have today.
Oh no, nothing like what there's today.
Yeah, so you basically, if you wanted to mechanize something, you had to mechanize it, which really wasn't that much different than your previous job in terms of design, calibrate, like. Oh, yeah. But you got to do it from home, I presume, or at least your home city.
Yes, from my home city. I wasn't traveling a lot. I was working in an office every day. I would just drive to the office. It was a short little drive, like 10 minutes. It was nice.
Okay, so. But you were in an actual MSP, and then how long were you there?
I was there about 12 years.
That's a long run. So you saw like basically the full that was a really important time from the perspective of before at the beginning of your run, people were just sort of tossing the MSP word around, and it was more cerebral or theoretical at that time, abstract, like, oh, this is what you should be. But organizations were really, um, they were just starting to implement subscription licensing from Microsoft, right? And I think that's really what kicked it off, was this move towards subscription, and the business model wasn't really figured out yet. To 12 years later, not only is the business model figured out, but the industry is now, I don't know those exact years, but I'm not sure I'd be very far off if I said it was like 10 times as big. I think it's probably closer to 10 times as big in terms of revenue, MSP, because we started to see IT departments fold up, VARs fold up, right, and be replaced by that MSP label. And throughout, tools are being created, right, to make jobs easier. And you probably implemented a whole lot of things in the MSP stack over that time.
Yep.
So was that it? Was that, and then straight into Tech ID Manager, or was there something else in there?
So I was just working at MSP, and I saw the problem that Tech ID Manager solves. And I was like, this is a problem that is unsolved in the market. And like, I'm done working at this MSP, so I need something else to do. So I went and took a short contract job at a polymer manufacturer, like working in the production line.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is not the way.
Yeah.
I saw, like, when I worked in the automation, I saw the people working the production line, and I was like, that seems like it's not fun. But then I went and did it, and I was like, this is not fun. This is not where I want to be. So I quit. I started Ruffian Software and wrote Tech ID Manager. And like, it's been all cybersecurity, all software, all SaaS since then.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have wanted that job either. But I got to tell you, I've talked to a lot of people who work in line manufacturing jobs, or other similar jobs, right? Yeah, it's grueling and it's horrible for a lot of people. But other people say, you know what? I just love clocking out for the day. I love that no one's calling me after work. I love that basically, like, I can fill my head with other things and I can just listen to my jams, and I don't it doesn't matter I'm just doing this thing, and I think that is right for a lot of people. But we're going to be talking about the labor impacts of AI. That the future there is really uncertain right now, or maybe it is certain. Maybe it's certain that it doesn't exist in the future, but I'm not sure yet. That's actually a really good segue here. So there's a lot of discussion about what is AI doing to the world, right? And I think there was a lot of fear and shock like 10 years ago when AI futurists were sort of imagining what 2025 would look like, what would 2030 look like, right? And there were all these forecasts about there's going to be no jobs, right? We're hearing today, we're hearing the same thing from like Elon Musk, who's like, I want more robots running on the Tesla grid than humans on the Earth, and there's going to be no jobs because there's going to be robots creating everything for everyone. And I don't know about that, but what I do know is that some of those future forecast notes, right, from 10 years ago are actually sort of taking shape right now. Where this year we're starting to see, I'm not sure the pendulum has started swinging the other direction yet, but we're seeing like the long haul trucking robotics companies, right, actually get out there in the field with some success. And it seems like we've got last mile delivery with some success, and we're probably only a few years away from both of those positions. By the way, highly in demand labor markets right now. There are definitely not enough truck drivers. There are definitely not enough delivery drivers, like for all of the need. I know when I talk to business owners, it's frequently one of the things that they just can't get enough of. But I think that this pendulum is going to start swinging back the other direction on that. That one's probably like right around the corner here, just because we're seeing the success and we're seeing the growth of those alternate modes. And I think that so some of those forecasts were real. Some of the other forecasts, I think, have either turned out not to be real or not real yet. And here we are in the IT industry, right? And the IT industry was not threatened, by the futurists directly, 10 years ago, but we're seeing some change right now, right? We're seeing some change in the way engineering's happening. Lucky for most people watching this show, MSPs happen to be highly mechanized, which is what that means. We've invested so much in non-AI mechanization over the last 10 years that, at least for the near term, AI doesn't have much to offer, right, to those positions. But there are many other positions out there that are I guess near to, that are ripe for disruption. But we're beginning to see that in some IT jobs, outside of the MSP, sysadmin roles, which it seem to be secure at least for 2025. So I would love to just start with, if we just look back 10 years, how many of those things do you think, like, are there some obvious things futurists were calling for? They were like, oh, clearly they were totally wrong on that. Or clearly they were totally right on that. Anything off the top of your head?
So this thing right here, a hand, is the one thing that is, from my experience, industrial automation. I've been in industrial automation since the 1990s. Nothing has been as good a gripper as the human hand. And for 20 years that I was in industrial automation, and still pay attention, they've been trying to replicate the capabilities of the human hand, picking stuff up and moving around and manipulating it. And they haven't gotten there. And they're still nowhere near it. That's why Amazon warehouses hire so many people, so they can.
Yeah, they have lots of robots, right?
Just to move bulk in other containers, not to move individual product.
Yeah.
So like that is something that futurists have gotten way wrong, is like we still can't do like the basic hand gripping and grabbing.
Yeah, and I've been watching the latest robotic hands coming out for the last 15, 20 years, right? And you're right that even the most sophisticated versions of it are nothing like, I don't remember the number of bones in the human hand, but it's dozens, I believe, in one hand. And that might be underrepresenting. There's a lot of bones in a human hand, right? There's a lot going on here. It's a particularly difficult place if a human gets injured. Like, we don't even have the science right now to fix stuff in a hand the way we do the rest of the body.
Yeah.
And I know that, like, the robots that Tesla's marketing right now, or sort of marketing, they're really just PR robots, right? They've actually gone the other direction of saying, well, all this complexity that Boston Dynamics and others sort of like have been bringing forward, it's just too expensive. We're just going to go, we're just going to solve this in software, so to speak.
Yeah. So the future, I think they got that wrong, and I think that's going to drastically prohibit the adoption of robots in the world, because they can't just go do whatever it is thing they want to do. You can't go pick up that pan that's upside down.
And you live this, right? So to mechanize the factory line, I spent some time in human factories where they had humans doing things. So I can imagine what that would look like when you introduce robotic automation. But you basically have to design a factory line around. This is like, let's go back to Henry Ford, right? You take something that like one person would do to split that task into something that many people can do faster or more reliably. You actually have to change the way you make stuff.
Yep,
you even have to change the way you have to change the way you design things. Even they can't be built in the same way. And then when you do robotic automation, again, same thing again. You can't even necessarily create the same product that you could create with human hands on a line with robots. You actually have to change the product to be compatible with that manufacturing method. But
the industry term is designed for automation. Like, you have to design your product for automation. And I think that a personal side note here, I think that's a way that Amazon will scale and get rid of people in their distribution centers, is they will require products that are distributed to be designed for distribution, designed for automated,
standardized pack sizes and stuff. Yeah.
Standardized interface mechanisms for grabbing it. So like, you always have a tab with a hole that's a 1/2 inch, or you have a tab with a hole that's 2 inches wide and 1 inch tall, and it can hold this much weight. And like, if you don't have these tabs, you can't get distributed by Amazon.
Yeah, but I can imagine even like the way you put master packs together. Probably, there's a lot of just to be clear, master packs are when you have like a bunch of products that you put together into a larger box for inventory purposes,
Yep.
right? And then those even then get packed together into larger like palletization loads.
Hmm.
Um, but there's a lot of variety there, and I think people probably don't realize that. I worked in a company where they automated they automated pallet loading with Basic,
Hmm.
the programming language
Yep.
Basic. So it was all a procedural spaghetti code to figure that out. Which
Oh
is
yeah.
honestly, I don't even know how to do it that way. Like I could probably solve that problem using modern you know, computer languages, but I don't know how I would have done that in procedural Basic. But the
Oh yeah.
but that there's a lot of variety there. So that stuff is, you're right, probably going to get more standardized. I think we're seeing that. Um, Amazon mostly for the last 10 years has been focusing on mechanization of the ordering side, right?
Hmm.
And the delivery side. But that warehousing, it's been a bit of a pain point for them. In fact, they've been running into labor challenges recently, right? And they just pulled out over the last year. They've pulled out of some regions. They said, "Oh, we don't deliver here anymore. We're going to shut down this warehouse because we can't figure the labor situation out." So,
Yeah.
um, I don't I don't know how fast that change is going to happen, and I sort of wonder, like, if we're in a race between robots with better, smarter hands, which you're right, that's an expensive solution, versus just making standardized boxes, right? And is our multi-element, multi-material printers like going to beat us there? I don't, the local printing of local manufacturing may. I mean, I know that that's far away, right? But these things that we thought would be easy, like picking, like, honestly, a pile of like when you stick like items in bags and they get flat packed, right, like
Hmm.
this, and they're in a larger box, that's like almost impossible for a robot to figure out. But a human can just like be like, oh, it's this one, it's under that bag, like.
Yep.
So I don't know. I don't know. So okay. So that didn't pan out. What do you think like arrived?
I
What,
think the future's got a lot wrong. I think that when I was like just starting out as an adult, 2021, I got my first TV and cable TV was a thing. And the gripe was always, well, why can't I just buy the channels I want? And then futurists were like, in the future, you'll just buy what you want by channel. Well, that's not true, but streaming has come along and made it just what you want. And now AI is, you know, manicuring what it suggests I watch based on what I've watched and not watched. And that has come true.
yeah, and not only manicuring like suggestions, but even the search box. It's
Hmm.
now. Um, I mean, you might think that that search box is giving you the answers that you're searching for, but I'm gonna tell you that those search boxes are real dumb on purpose. They want you to see certain things.
Yeah.
So the okay, so that was I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Like, what's going to happen with the media industry, right?
Yep. Definitely changing.
Hollywood just did round one fight the last 5 years, right? And I'm not sure which side won. Seemed like it was a stalemate, but they decided to, uh, you know, continue on into the future here. Um, in the MSP industry, I think I'm not seeing any challenge to the infrastructure administrators, but definitely on the development and coding side, um, we we just went through this period over the last 10 years where we mechanized build chains. That's like, it used to be only some companies had mechanized build chains, and now pretty much every software product is mechanized from day one. When you start a software project, you are CI/CD is all automated, right? And that job of integration engineer, it's either a lot smaller or it's gone away for many companies. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things that AI is really good at is that stuff, because there's so many examples out there of CI/CD build chains that, while I certainly see that like AI is bad at certain types of problem solving, setting up a basic build chain is something that takes a human days, but takes an AI like 3 minutes or a minute and a half, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not in position to know what that's doing to the labor market, but I've certainly noticed some softening around the edges in big tech. I'm not sure how much of that is a speculative, right? They want to get rid of the humans early, rather than have them too long, and how much of that is really actually we're getting a lot more done with fewer humans. And I'm not sure what the answer is, but I've certainly seen that the current crop of frontier models is pretty good at a lot of this stuff, right? That you used to need humans for.
Yep.
So,
I
if
still think you
anything,
need
that
lots of humans for it, though, to
you
know to
you
stand up the chain.
you do, but I think we're seeing that mechanization conversion in the same way that you were part of that revolution in line manufacturing, right? We're seeing that in code development, right? So there's certain jobs. If we just think about a large dev team, there's certain jobs that I'm just like, I don't know if those jobs exist in the future. And then other jobs where it's um, clearly like that's not going anywhere in the near term. Like as an example, a good business analyst, right? In a dev team, in a development team, is irreplaceable right now because AI is not super great at asking questions it hasn't been prompted to ask. So um, sometimes humans aren't that great at it anyway. But a good business analyst really helps a team move forward, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Because the business
I'm not.
business analyst is taking data that is not always in the computer. It's taking
Yeah,
virtual interactions from video calls, emails. Like there's data all over the place that the business analyst is correlating to give you a direction for the product.
right, right. Things that would be out of reach of an AI model right now.
Mm-hmm. Just doesn't have
I'm
the
sort of
data.
but I'm thinking about things that are within the reach of an AI model that are maybe easy to mechanize, and I'm thinking about like jobs like project management. And I love my non-technical project managers. I'm always recommending that people incorporate non-technical project managers in their team to organize the engineers who are, let's just like I don't think engineers are great at organization in general. I think the engineering mindset maybe is not compatible with that type of thinking, but I know that teams work better when they bring people that are super great at just organizational executive functioning into the team to move things along. But I'm wondering how much of that is solved by an AI model that's just in charge of Jira. I don't.
So, in my experience, I disagree 100%. Like, I think
You think?
the non-technical project manager is much more about the person-on-person interaction and convincing engineers to go in the direction that the herd is going. Because engineers is like herding cats; they all want to go their own direction.
Yeah.
It's the person-to-person that will often convince that engineer cat that, oh yeah, we really all do want to go in this direction together. And if you just get an email from an AI or a chatbot AI thing that pops up and tells you to go some direction, I think a lot of engineers are going to rebel and it's going to be worse. And I think it's that person on person interaction from the non
I
technical
think
manager.
I think I could buy that in the near term future, and even medium term. I think you're right. I think.
It's a
What do you think?
generational change.
What do you think about testing in QA?
I think testing in QA is similar to customer support. Customer support has already mostly gone the AI route. I think that testing in QA is going to go a lot toward the AI doing it, but I think
Huh?
I fear that because if AI looks at the source code and says these things have changed, these are the only things I need to test, it can miss effects.
Yeah. So I testing is this funny thing in the world of software development, and it's not very different in the world of infrastructure management. There's some automated testing you can do to look out for certain types of error conditions that are easy to find,
Mm-hmm.
right? But those things are relatively easy to mechanize, and you don't really need AI for that.
Right.
Although AI can help you tune and set up that stuff much faster, right? And then you've got the more sophisticated tests that escape those simple test cases, right? And they become whole engineering projects in their own right. And I'm not sure if our current crop of AI is up to that, or if it will be in the near term. And it's a big question mark for me. I don't know. I know that there's stuff that humans can catch really easily that if you didn't have those humans there, would go straight out and hit users, right? I'm not sure AI is going to catch that. Where'd the back button go? Like,
right. This whole feature was deleted. Yes, it
yeah,
was deleted. It's not a problem. It matches the code. It does the right thing.
yeah, right, exactly, right. I don't see it in the code. Like, it's not there.
Back button's gone.
Yeah. So I don't know there. It sounds like you're also non-committed there in that type of work. But some of it, right?
Yeah,
Some
I think
of it.
AI is useful we haven't done any AI testing yet. It is on a roadmap to implement some significant more automation, including some AI into the testing. We'll see if it gets.
Yeah, and we're seeing all the major players introducing their remote control models right now, right? We've had image recognition for a number of years, but they built the reasoning framework around click here, click here, click here, which I'm going to tell you, I've tried doing that kind of thing without AI, and you end up in like class ID hell, when your DOM elements changed, like their wrapping or envelope, or all your test automation breaks, and that's like really, really challenging to keep going. But I could totally imagine an AI not having trouble finding the back button, right? Because it says back on it and it can find that, right? Whereas a non-AI version of that type of automation, you make one little like, for example, we're moving over a bunch of our components from material 2 to material 3. The code looks a little bit different, but from the user perspective, it looks very much the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
So are we going to rewrite all our test suites? If it was AI, we wouldn't have to, but if it's not, then that becomes a whole engineering project, right?
Yeah.
So
replicating the user is easier with AI than it is with any other mechanized form.
Yeah, you touched on customer success. I think that we were all very frustrated when we could no longer get through to humans like 18 months ago.
Very frustrated.
Very frustrated. It was a bit of hell for a year and a half or 2 years, depending on when you adopted that tech. I am seeing that the models and the knowledge bases, and I think it's not just the models, it's also the knowledge bases that the models are working on have been manicured to the point where they're a lot better at giving you answers now than they were a couple of years ago, or even 9 months ago. And I don't hate asking AI questions anymore, but those success departments have been so hollowed out that when it fails, it is really hard to get a hold of not just a person, but a person that understands what's going on.
A competent person, yes.
Yes, because they've shrunk those departments down to smaller pyramids, right? And there are still humans there, but there may not even be senior humans in that pyramid anymore because it's too small.
Right.
And so I've seen, as a customer, I got frustrated, and then I was okay with the tech. And now that we're through that sort of conversion moment, the thing that's really lingering with me is, instead of getting an answer from a really smart human in about 15 minutes or half an hour or 2 hours, now it's like 2 to 5 days, right? And that's been pretty frustrating for me. Yeah. But that's what that conversion looked like. I guess we've redesigned what account management and customer success looks like, customer success, right? Around that. The really frustrating thing is when I'm trying to talk to sales, right? And I can't even escape the LLM because I want to spend money. That thing drives me nuts because I'm just like, how are they this dumb when they built this script?
Yeah, I think a lot of that 18 months was not just the LLMs or them figuring out how to use it. It's us as users figuring out what we need to do. I have a friend that owned a company and he implemented an automated phone system. And he said when it would answer and say, "Hey, I'm Julie, your automated assistant. What would you like to do?" People would be like, they would go from a normal conversational tone to stupid talk, is what he called it. It'd be like, they would say, schedule, appointment. And then they would just not do the natural conversation. Like, I'd like to schedule an appointment on Wednesday. They'd be like, schedule, appointment. And the LLM's voice recognition in his system was like, it didn't work because people didn't like it and they talked to it like it was dumb. Yeah. I think the same thing has happened with the support chats that are LLM based. Is the we've gotten more conversational and better at writing prompts. I know I've gotten better at writing prompts to any AI I use, and that has made me better in communicating with the chatbots for support. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, you know, I have noticed though, when you get into we all know that they hallucinate, these LLMs, right? But it's super frustrating when they clearly hallucinate, not just based on their base training, right? But based on these knowledge databases that, frankly, like sometimes organizationals' knowledge bases are conflict each other. Because
Mhm.
there was an article that was written 12 months ago, and then there was an article that was written 6 months ago, and there was an article written 1 month ago, and they're not that smart. The models aren't that smart to know like how to reconcile that, right? And you'll get garbage answers all the time.
Oh yeah,
So, but I guess that's life now. All right. So,
I still
what
use I still use AI for programming,
uh-huh.
and I will often see mixed mode answers. Like this answer's from C Sharp, this one's from Java, and this one's from like C++. And they're like, it's all the same. They're not quite right yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I so programming, proper programming, that one I don't know how to skin because programming is not a job, right? I know that there's people that call themselves full stack developers, but um I don't think it's possible to be good at a full stack. Um, I think that maybe over the course of your career, you might have touched all those layers, but the layers change out from under you. So to reach like a high level of acumen in any particular space, you basically have to only be doing that thing. I certainly don't have that level of acumen on any of the technologies we use in our software. I'm like not a layperson, right? But I'm certainly not an expert in each of those layers, right? So, what do you think? The experts are safe for now?
I think that is an open question. Like
Yeah.
AI can take whatever knowledge base you have and extend the fringe of it. So they can help you, but they can't plant a new knowledge flag. They can help you in an area. I talked to a couple companies a while ago at a investment conference like a month and a half ago, and most of them said that they were now like most of those people said 6 months to a year ago they were only hiring expert programmers because AI they thought AI could do all the junior level stuff, and the
Mhm.
experts could make the junior level AI do the junior level stuff go away with AI. Now they said they're only hiring junior developers because AI can make them so much better. So even in the course of a year, the hiring patterns of other SaaS companies I know has changed dramatically, and they don't know how AI is affecting their hiring or who they're going to keep on staff or the skill set that's needed to actually write a viable product.
So I wanna drill in on that thing you just said. So I think you're right. If you can create a culture where those junior developers are able to mature and learn, right, and improve their own craft, right. Particularly if you have some expert developers already that can support that, right? It makes sense to bring that junior talent in. It always makes more sense to train. Let me back up. It usually makes more sense to train talent, right, than to hire talent, right? It usually makes more sense for a number of reasons.
Uh-huh.
So I could believe that one, but I could also believe that that's not an easy strategy to just pull off and say we're going to hire a bunch of junior talent without the senior talent to oversee them, and we're going to feed them Claude Code or whatever, and good luck, guys.
Yep.
I I can see that failing most of the time without a really good success playbook, right? You have to train them on when to raise their hand, essentially, and get someone besides Gemini to be an escalation resource. I've certainly seen one of the big failings of current code generation models is not that they can't write code, it's that they have a hard time with the abstract thinking to move through troubleshooting of complex problems, right? And that's not something junior talent's particularly great at either. And I could really see, a smart AI model and a smart but junior dev going in circles on that forever on some things,
Oh yeah.
right? And just never getting anywhere. I know that it takes like I was doing some vibe coding today. We're not doing that in our monolithic app at this time, but we're playing with it around the edges. And there's like moments where the AI has been programmed to get frustrated and get extreme, right? Like it's the reasoning that they put in place is like, okay, try these small tweaks a number of times to work through this problem space, but like if you can't get through, like pull the rug out and like get extreme, right? Is like basically the it's a bit of a kludge in the logic to move through a troubleshooting space, and maybe it helps in some cases, but it's not very efficient, and sometimes you can just end up in a really big loop
I have seen
that just takes like hours and hours just to get back to the same place because the AI literally can't troubleshoot its way out of that box, right? And a senior engineer is just like me. I'm not even an expert in this stuff. I'm just looking at it. I'm like, no, you just gotta do this thing instead, and then like solved, right? So I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. What do you think's happening right now in the labor market? Besides, you said there's a organization out there that's doing that. Do you think that thinking is like denting like the actual market at this point?
So this wasn't an organization. This was an investment conference. There were lots of executives and founders that were saying the same thing. Like they used to hire, and like they're not sure what their future plan is, and they have they admit that they have long-term concerns about the viability of the either model, because if you don't hire junior engineers and you only hire seniors, you're never going to grow a senior. And if you only hire seniors, or if you only hire juniors, they can't get to the senior level because there's nobody to train them.
Yeah.
And most people don't know when their knowledge ends and when to raise their hand, especially if you have a tool like AI, which sounds so confident and will tell you these things. I've personally seen AI be very, very wrong, very confident, and AI's job is to write code, it seems like. So I've seen AI give me personally hundreds of lines of code to fix a problem that was literally a one-line change when I figured out what was actually wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like, you need
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, no, I needed to change this line.
But it can generate that 100 lines of code real fast.
Oh, real fast. Real fast. And it doesn't, and it'll do things that'll mask the problem or give you other problems you're focused on instead of the original problem. Yeah.
So I can't help but think about the last 20 years, the history of offshoring development labor, right? Offshoring a number of skill sets to different places in the world, right? But engineering labor had a moment about 20 years ago where both offshore and hybrid models started really it actually damaged our U.S. labor market in engineering and development for a few years, and then but the market continued to grow. The labor demand continued to grow. So even with the outsourcing, we eventually outstripped the supply. So it was really just a moment. I'm sort of wondering if that's what we're going to see here with AI adoption. We certainly ended up with some rules of thumb in working with outsourced development. There's ways to do it successful. It's not outsourcing specifically that I'm trying to talk about. I'm trying to talk about when you're moving offshore, right? And you've got these teams that are definitely in a different culture, even if it's just a corporate culture, but oftentimes a societal culture as well, different norms, different time zone, different language, right? How do you get them to work with, how do you integrate with that, right? And I think that there's a lot of people that got burned by that 15, 20 years ago. But I think that the industry right-sized itself, but it wasn't like offshore didn't take over and replace domestic engineering here in the U.S. Right? It didn't do that. It didn't do that in Europe either. What we saw was, and I'm not talking about a specific company. I'm talking about like a labor market dynamic, right? So some companies leaned one direction or another for any number of reasons, but you ended up with ratios, right? Like, or certain types of skills that were done here, certain types of skills that were done there. I know that I've seen many companies successfully, and this is like a really amazing when it happens, right? You have like the product managers coming up with an idea, and then like that idea follows the sun, and by the next day, it's already been developed in Eastern Europe, tested in India, um, ran overnight, got all its like automated like test suites done, human test suites done, and the next day it's like there, and like that was a thing we could never have done just here in this country. And I'm sort of wondering how much of this disruption are we going to see is like temporary, and at the end of the day we're just going to end up with greater potential capacity, and how much is going to be like, man, these guys don't have work anymore, right? Like there's no rebound, right? They're going to have to reskill as human hands, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know the answer right now.
I think the outsourcing that happened in that time frame is real similar to the AIification that's happening to labor right now. And I think we're that same kind of blip, and I think that we'll find some sort of balance.
Yeah. I know that there were people that like insisted you can't offshore, it's a disaster. If you give your project, if you offshore, it's going to be a disaster. It's not going to work. And in my experience, what I saw was there was a lot of teams that did it poorly. They weren't engaged enough, right? You can't just like you can't just be like, okay, you guys handle it. See you next year.
Over the wall.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't work, and I think the same thing's going to be true in AI, right? You can't just like hand AI like, okay, go build this business for me. Whack. Yep. You gotta supervise things.
So that's similar. I have a guy I know who is in charge of the AIification of an enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's the dude who's there to pick which projects are AIified and AIify the entire enterprise to make people more efficient, with the long-term goal of being more efficient with the same number of people. And he has, similar to the company you talked about that said that AI or outsourcing to foreign companies is going to fail. There are people that he's running into that say AI in this process is going to fail. And he has had specific instances where when those people retired, fired, got different jobs, what was not working as an AI tool in a division suddenly starts to work and be effective. You need that buy-in from the people using the tool to use it, just like you needed buy-in to outsourcing to actually make it work. You need buy-in to the tools to make it work.
Yeah, and that's always been a problem in change culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Change is hard. I think we all need to read a good book on change culture right now if we want to both survive what's coming, but also navigate it, right? All right, so we just talked about a bunch of jobs that might be replaced by AI. It's sort of still in the wiggly future right now, although we're seeing the edges of it. Let's get back to Tech ID Manager here. So back to your story.
Yes,
you created this tool. Okay, tell me about what was the problem first of all, because I think largely people still have this problem, right?
Yes.
But you saw it maybe a little bit sooner than others. So what was the problem you saw?
So when I started with the MSP, there were 6 people. I was person number 6. Mm-hmm. And 3 of us were developers and 3 were like the IT side of the MSP. That company grew from 6 to about 30 people when I left. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of people came and left. It was mostly technicians that came. So there were 25 different people who had access to 400 plus clients, 20,000 machines. Mm-hmm. And there was one username and one password that was used everywhere for administrative access.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
You give me really chills.
Yeah. So and when somebody left, there was a particular individual who left and took quite a business with him. And his business plan when he left was he would walk into a former client and be like, hey, your network's not secure. Look, I have administrative access to your network all of a sudden, and I don't even work with this company. So he started taking clients, and that was really one of us.
Which, by the way, is illegal in multiple ways.
Oh yes, yes,
that's illegal in multiple ways.
Right, but he got away with it. He grew his own company from it.
Yeah.
So that, and just when somebody left, you couldn't remove their access was the biggest problem. So I started
Yeah.
reading all the cybersecurity guidelines and frameworks and like trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And I was like, well, everybody needs their own account and a few other things are needed. So I went out in the marketplace to find a tool. I literally went to the market to find a tool to apply this MSP and then move on to solve the next problem for this MSP that I was working with. But there was nothing in the marketplace. There were no tools that would do what an MSP needed at the scales MSP needed. There were a couple individual high enterprise tools, Thycotic, BeyondTrust, CyberArk, things like that. But those are $100,000 a year to say hello to them. So Tech ID Manager is for MSPs to do privileged account management is technically what that's called, for technician access to client infrastructure, servers, domains, Azure machines, workgroup machines, Macs, whatever. When a technician needs access to that asset, it needs to be unique. It needs to be traced. It needs to be enabled and disabled. It needs to be revocable. Like all of those things the cybersecurity frameworks say about technician access, that's what Tech ID Manager does.
So
you manage the identity of technicians.
I love that little stop sign you have in the corner. We just pointed that for a moment. Yeah, that stop sign. So I've been on that stump for 10 years. And it used to be a really hard sell. Like, people were like, come on. Like, they also didn't used to take security standards very seriously at all. Any of the controls, any of the things that keep people safe that have been proven to stop attacks, right? Yep. Those controls, if you're using a good standard, those controls aren't there because someone had a bright idea. They're there because they've been proven to stop attack chains, right?
Correct.
So that one's pretty high up there. I'm going to tell you that the last 2 years, I think the culture has changed a little bit. Maybe the knowledge of standards has helped, but people still aren't doing it. Okay. But they don't come up with excuses anymore. It's more of like the tail between their legs. Yeah, I know. We need to do something about that.
I should do it. I should fix this.
Yeah. And because I'm going to tell you, it used to be, why would I want to do that? That doesn't make any sense. And then it was like, well, we can't possibly do that. And here's all the reasons why we don't need to do that. And oh, by the way, we have ThreatLocker or whatever. And not to, ThreatLocker's fine. It doesn't solve this problem.
Right.
So I think people are coming around the corner on that mentally. So are you seeing that out in the market?
Yeah, I am seeing definitely that people are searching for a product to solve this. It's still not the top priority for MSPs, but it's bubbling toward the top. Yeah. It's something that is the best thing I've heard is that it's keeping MSP owners awake at night when they know that it's a problem.
Yeah.
If they don't know it's a problem, it doesn't bother them. It doesn't keep them awake. But the recognition and the education of the market is coming around, and people are like, oh, the password has been 1234 password for my clients for 6 years now, and I've had 17 different people get fired in that time frame, and 2 were mad about it.
There's this is certainly like the bigger monster in the room, but there's a separate related issue that it's a little bit esoteric from a security perspective because there's all these technical implications for why, but there's a related requirement of, and by the way, your admin account shouldn't be the same as the one you log in to check your email, right?
Oh, yes.
So I think that, some people say, oh, we don't share admin accounts. We just give ourselves admin and we use our own accounts, right? I just want to point out that stop sharing admin accounts doesn't mean give yourself super admin, whatever, global
Correct.
admin rights. Like that's not the fix. And there's a number of reasons why, but let me just tell you that cyber criminals love it when you try to solve things that way.
Tech ID Manager solves that problem too.
Yeah,
we can make the individual on-prem or the in MSP admin accounts for the MSP technicians that should have access.
Yeah.
You want to hear a funny story about like users having admin access and like shared admin passwords?
Well, I have my own stories, but I'm always, give me one.
So there was a company I know that had that same mentality where everybody was kind of an admin. They could access resources because being admin or being an administrator was the easiest way to give people, not have people run into a roadblock. So you didn't have permission. So the owner of the company kept all of the people's salaries, vacation time, and other information in an Excel spreadsheet on one of the servers in a directory he thought only he had access to. Since everyone is an administrator, one individual found this and was like, started sharing it with other people. So everybody in the company all of a sudden knew how much everybody else got paid, how much vacation time they got. And it was drastically different between people. And it was a real problem.
So that one's bumpy, but like that's the most innocuous version of what could have happened there.
Oh yeah.
That's just like a speed bump and hopefully a speed bump in company culture. And then you work through it and you're out the other side. But I think the bigger threat here is if you're using your own account for administration. So the objection, I'm going to put the objection out there first because I hear it all the time. The objection to this is, well, my job is sysadmin. My job is network admin, so I need to have admin rights, right? That's my job. That's what I do all day, right? And that may be true, right? But you definitely don't need to be walking around with admin rights when you're on the golf course. You definitely don't need to be walking around with admin rights when you're scrolling through Reddit or whatever people do, Facebook, TikTok. When someone comes into your browser, and of course everything's web-based these days, right? And grabs your session token, right? They get to run away with that. And depending on the auth mechanism, that cookie might be good for quite a long time. Could be good for 30 days. Or even longer. And so, I mean, the real balance to strike here is making it easy for the user to be authenticated all the time, right? While making it hard for an attacker to get to that escalation point, right? So definitely having dedicated admin accounts that are just for each admin and they're turned on and off as needed. That's beautiful. I love that. Yep. I love that answer.
That's the way to do it. Like what you're talking about there is least privileged access, but least privileged access on the account when somebody needs it, then you escalate the effort. We do all of that. Separate account escalation.
We have to run in a minute, but what's coming down the road here? What's next in your world?
My world, personally, I just had grandkids.
Well, that's exciting.
Super excited about that. Professionally, like there are 4 large items that we have in the works at Ruffian Software. They're going to join the Tech ID Manager product family and really expand it from technician access to a bunch of different areas.
Well, that's exciting. I know that there's other challenging controls there. I may send you some wish list items.
Yeah. The AI integration is like one of those things that we're talking about too, but that's a totally different topic.
All right. Well, looks like it's coming up in about a week. We're going to come back and Mike McCake's going to join us from Iceberg Cyber. He's going to be talking about outbound prospecting. Iceberg's whole gig, by the way, is finding those vulnerabilities in those new prospects and using them to acquire customers. But ultimately, prospecting is hard, and it's not as simple as just point and shoot a scanner. Right? You have to have a plan to win those customers. So I can't wait for Mike to join us. Until then, guys, enjoy the holiday weekend here and stay safe, I guess.
Have somebody you can call with no questions asked.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Bye.
Thanks. Have a great day.